Okay, welcome to the November 13th, 2024 meeting of the Town of Concord Historic Districts Commission. The commission will review 4 new items under other business, 2 new applications, and 3 continued applications. We are conducting this meeting online in accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. The public may access this call through both telephone and video conferencing. Members of the public will have an opportunity to ask questions and provide public comment on applications and discussions following the petitioner's presentation and questions from the commission. To do so, please raise your hand in the participant function of the Zoom meeting platform. If you're calling in and cannot use the platform, you may raise your hand by dialing *9. Our host will mute microphones of those not speaking, and in order to preserve bandwidth, may need to turn off video, with the exception of the commissioners, the host, and the current applicant. The chair will call on commissioners for comments on an application and then open the meeting for public comment. Once there are no more public comments, I will ask for a motion from the commission to continue, to approve the conditions, or to reject. A second, and conduct a roll call vote. Once the commission has acted on an application, the applicant is free to leave the meeting. Let me do a roll call for all members. Let me see. Melinda, you're here.
Here.
Tim is here. Lewis is
Yes.
here. Catherine.
Here.
Walter.
Here.
Kristen.
Here.
Luis, but he's muted. And Kate Chartner. I see Kate down there.
I'm here.
Okay. Is that everybody? I think it is.
Bill
Okay.
Hewitt.
You got
Is
Bill.
Bill Hewitt there?
Mhm.
Oh, there he is. I don't see him, but I see his little body on the on the screen. Welcome, Bill. The voting members tonight are Kate Chartner, Catherine Mast, Linda Shumway, Tim Whitney, and myself. So, new public hearings. The first is the Town of Concord CPW, Concord Center, multiple sites. This is for the Main Street Hubbardville Historic District to replace waste barrels and recycling cages with solid waste and recycling compactors. So who's here from the town?
Good evening, Aaron McCloskey, Highway and Ground Superintendent.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you.
Let us know what you want to do.
All right, thank you very much. Again, thank you very much for having us here. I'm joined with Justine St. John. She's a program analyst within Concord Public Works. The Division of Highway and Grounds oversees a number of functions in town, including solid waste and recycling collection, both municipal, residential, curbside program, and public barrel collection. So that's public barrels located within the public rights of way, public parks, and on public facilities. It's a collection of solid waste and recycling. The application that we've submitted is to replace the existing receptacles, both solid waste and recycling, that are currently located in the historic district within town of Concord Center specifically. We have been working with our contractor, currently is Waste Management. They've been a contractor for the town for over 20 years, replacing receptacles throughout town, many of which have already been exchanged out for the newer style receptacles. Overall, we have 21 locations throughout town, which we will be replacing, and we're hoping to replace within the historic district, so that they're all uniform in the same style. Currently, we have locations that have been deployed at 11 other locations in town, including on Thoreau and in West Concord, and some other public parks within the town, in Concord Center, including Emerson Park, and in areas near kind of the Hunt Gym. These new receptacles are solar-powered compactors, self-contained units. They're one unit, and contained within the one unit are 2 individual collection compacting devices, one for solid waste and one for recycling. Details of the units were supplied in the packet that was provided to the commission in advance of the meeting. And I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone might have regarding this deployment.
And are the visuals for everybody to see, the public to see, that you have of these units?
So these are a couple of cut sheets that were provided. And what is this? Can you start at the top? First slide, please. Perfect. So this is essentially a cut sheet of what these units look like. I have a photo that I can share of the unit that's currently installed on Thoreau Street. The units look like this. They do not have the advertisement on the side of the unit. They're just plain. These units are customizable. They can have various, what they call them, like wraps or covers that go on around them for, whether it's art or something like that. But the units that we have are just plain. They're black, a black coated finish on the outside, so they don't have that symbol on that, essentially that poster on the right hand side. But they do have that. Otherwise, they will otherwise match that. Some technical specifications here for individual units. But if we could scroll down to the next slide, please. Keep going down. See if there's any that have the dual. So right there, if you could pause, and that picture on the right hand side, if we can zoom in on that one, yes. So that's what they look like. So on the one side, there's for recycling, it's designated with the blue cover with the universal recycling symbol, and on the right hand side, it's a black chute cover with a solid waste symbol on it. They are locked contained units, so there's no ability for anybody to unauthorized access to solid waste or recycling. They're locked units. They have they're either hand operated with that brushed handle finish, or they are also actuated by a foot lever for folks that have either accessibility needs or sanitary wishes to actuate a foot lever to open up the container. There's a solar panel that's installed kind of on the top. It's embedded within that clear cover that power the units. Those self-powered and lockable units with the handle on the front right there. This is a map of the locations. There are 10 locations in Concord Center, which we're looking to install. All these locations currently have solid waste and recycling receptacles. For those that don't know kind of what those look like, the recycling, they're just an open wire basket cage with a black finish. The solid waste is a black vertical open top solid waste receptacle made out of metal and a poly material. Those are lined with inside a poly barrel with plastic bags. So all these locations currently have receptacles. These are serviced throughout the season. The season's pretty much all year. The number of services per week depends on the season of the year, actually. Depending on the amount of use, higher during tourist seasons, less frequently during the winter seasons. In peak season, from April to November, they could be serviced anywhere from 5 to 7 days a week. One of the reasons that we are changing the unit is cost and efficiency and sanitation, just cleanliness. We are going to be able to go down to 1 day collection because it's a compactor, maybe 2 at most, but we're hoping for just 1 day collection, which reduces the cost of the service significantly for all of these, as we pay per collection. So with a compactor, instead of just the open top units, we're able to reduce cost. It also increases sanitation, less handling, less materials handling, no material handling at all by staff, CPW staff. It'll all be handled by the contractor. Currently the model, CPW staff service these units on the weekends. The new model would just be completely sourced through the vendor Waste Management. And also these are contained units, so there will no longer be issues with any pest or rodents or anything, taking trash out, dragging it down the street or anything like that. And also hoping to eliminate kind of overflow and spillage onto the public roadway or sidewalk with these compacted units. So this is a map, the little orange icon, solid waste receptacle icon, kind of indicate the locations. You can see them, one near the visitor center, just the north of the visitor center, and then along Main Street from Sally Ann's Foods down to Walden Street, and continuing on Walden, a couple of those locations, and then farther eastward down Main Street towards Monument Square, and then last location is right near the townhouse.
Questions?
By questions, you mean comments from commissioners?
I have a question. Am I muted or do you hear me?
No, you're
We hear
fine.
you.
We can hear you.
Okay, no, the question is that the specs over here says that they're going to be connected with a 4G or 5G
Yes.
cellular connection. A 3G or 4G LTE wireless data link, which I assume is that you're going to use to monitor, whether you're going to have to go and service them, but how are you going to fix that when there's no cellular connection precisely in that part of Concord?
So that is a feature that those units come with. We are not monitoring them through cellular service. They have indicator lights that personnel can go up to the and determine whether or not they are full. So we will not be using the cellular capabilities. These units are going to be fully serviced by the vendor and through Waste Management, and they'll be monitoring the units for capacity and emptying them as needed.
Okay.
Are there other questions?
Just a comment. I had hoped that they could be turned into cellular hotspots if they were connecting.
I have a comment. I wonder if there can be fewer of them now that they are more efficient. It looks like there are a lot that are just right across the street from others.
I agree. I mean, there's 9 in a quarter of a mile square, third of a mile square. And they're 4 feet tall.
Yeah, we're hoping to reduce the number. You know, we've got a number of these units in stock here at the CPW facility on Keyes Road. And we actively, as part of the current program, we're actively monitoring those units regularly and increasing service as needed throughout the season. Like if we notice an uptick in use, right, and there's overflow on any given day throughout the season, we'll add an additional pickup and collection. And if we notice that these units are not reaching capacity, we'll reduce them. What we've seen just from human nature, unfortunately, sometimes if we don't have these at strategic locations, you know, particularly those places that sell food or beverages or consumable items on the street, oftentimes stuff is just left on the sidewalk or right outside of a building on a ledge. And so these locations have been ones that have been in service for literally decades now. Definitely note taken. If we can reduce them, we will. We try to reduce the number of items that we have out there. Obviously, my division, not only do we service for solid waste and recycling, we also are responsible for winter maintenance and snow removal. So the less obstacles or items that we have out on the sidewalk, the better it is for that operation. So we're pretty cognizant of that. Typically in the wintertime, if we expect a heavy snow event, we're removing solid waste and recycling containers because the current ones that we have are pretty light and they can get moved around very easily by equipment or snow load. We're hoping that these ones can be left in place, and if we're able to reduce the numbers of them because capacity isn't an issue and people are making the walk across the street, especially now with the new redesign down at Walden Street and Main Street, where it's more pedestrian friendly. We're definitely looking to potentially reduce the numbers if we don't need them out there. It's also a cost savings for the town. The less units that we have out there, the less times in their service, the more money that we can save the town.
Great, thank you.
Welcome.
Other comments from commissioners?
Just Aaron, just a basic question, just to be sure I understand. You're replacing existing recycling and trash open containers, the exact same number with these dual recycling trash compactors, correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
It's a 1-for-1
So
swap.
it's a 1-for-1, and
Or
hopefully
two for two, I guess.
yeah. What happens too is if you see, and I think included in the packet was a photo of the older ones that were out there. And if anybody obviously I'm sure everyone's familiar with downtown Concord and seeing the ones that are out there, those open wire baskets in the wintertime are really not like conducive for the elements, right? We pull those in the winter first thing because they'll fill with snow and fill with other debris and other materials, and really, if we push the solid waste and recycling, there we go, perfect, thank you. Late into the season, we'll leave the trash can out, but we're not able to provide recycling service. With these new units, we'll be able to provide solid waste and recycling throughout the year, which would be nice service to offer the residents and the visitors of Concord.
Thank you.
If there are no other comments, why don't we open up to the public or the public?
I had a question.
Sorry, I didn't see you.
Sorry. question or two. Aaron, thank you for all of that information. Just a couple of questions. So you referenced earlier custom covers and wraps. Can we look at any of those? Have they been presented to us in terms of what the options might be? And my second question related to that is in terms of sort of, I'm sure you guys have probably done an analysis of like kind of optimal units in terms of coverage of area, in terms of like how, you know, we were just talking about the minimal amount that would be adequate for a certain area. I mean, I'm curious about whether there's been sort of an analysis of that and what the data reflects as a result. And then again, what options are available in terms of just the aesthetics of these units.
So when we originally, so we've been working with Waste Management Big Belly now on this for better part of 6 months. And they provided us some mock-ups early on, some great actually art renderings that had, you know, historic depictions of the town of Concord and Emerson and Walden Woods, and some nice visuals and wraps of those. When we first started discussing those with staff to bring them forward to this group, the feedback that we got was that would not maybe be well received. So we have mock-ups that we can share the group, and those things can be also interchanged, right? So these are kind of become I want to say art pieces, but the wraps can change. There could be posters on the outside. They could change, you know, weekly, monthly, annually, etc., for different events in town. So those are definite options. I have those that we can share. But what was presented was just to keep them, I'll call it a flat black, you know, which is just the standard material that these are built with. But we do have those renderings that we can share with the group for sure.
Okay.
And then as far as the analysis and data, you know, what we typically do is, you know, we're doing visual inspections of the town, you know, regularly. We have staff out monitoring and always kind of looking at what's going on downtown. And so we do, you know, we'll monitor, physically go out and see, you know, what's the fill rate, how quickly the receptacle's filling up, do we need them, where are we moving them around? You know, we saw in the last 4 years, specifically with, you know, the up and down swing with, you know, pandemic and the number of visitors coming to the town, and, you know, the fluctuations that we saw. We were really strategic about when we're putting them out, how many times a week we're servicing them, when we're removing them. It's been flowing. We've seen a huge increase in the last 2 seasons, just the number of visitors and the number of people that are using these, you know, these units. We feel pretty confident that if we put them out, they're going to be used. But again, you know, we're going to continuously monitor that. If we see that units are not filling up, and, you know, we have ones that are empty, you know, we'll end up pulling them out and either repurposing in another location in town or just not redeploying them. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's sort of a tipping point there, meaning if there are a lot of them that are accessible, then yes, likely people will be using them. But I think, you know, we want to find the balance there. So
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, it really comes down to human nature. A lot of it is people just a lot of times don't want to cross the road, right? They don't want to walk across, and they won't go the extra, you know, however many feet, whether they don't want to or they physically can't. So we try to have these that, you know, we're not trying to overpopulate and over clutter the streets. We're cognizant of that. You know, we're responsible for everything within the right of way, maintenance wise, right? And we're always conscious of the aesthetics of the town. We're constantly doing maintenance and work. So we're appreciative of that fact of not over cluttering, you know, downtown, and keeping that, you know, that historic feel of the center. And we'll continue to monitor it. So we feel confident that right now, when we came to the group, we didn't want to say, hey, we only want to put out 7 or 8, and then we got to come back in a couple months and say we want to put a few more. We'd rather ask for, this is the most we would have out, and then if we have to dial it back, we'll dial it back for sure.
Yeah, I think the other piece of human nature is that, you know, people will adjust to what is available, right? So I mean, there's that piece too. So, you know.
Kate, do you have a question?
Well, yeah, I would like to say that as a normal person, I think these receptacles are very impressive. and, you know, necessary. As a historic districts commissioner, I think they're gonna look awful in the district. I just felt like I had to say that. They're huge. And there's a lot of them. And the town is well-run and, you know, kind of progressive and thinks about these things, but we also, you know, there's been the charging stations and the parking meters, and I know that's not a lot of stuff, but, you know, and now these, and particularly the center of town is, you know, kind of a finite asset, so to speak, and it's, I just wish these looked different and were fewer, and so I do hope the town is being mindful of that.
A good point. Anybody else want to make a comment? Don't want to miss anybody.
I just want to echo what Kate's saying in terms of, you know, I think there's a fine tipping point here where, you know, obviously we want to do what is going to ultimately be right and appropriate for sanitation and, you know, dealing with waste in our town, but at the same time, you know, I think we are all working towards a common goal of trying to minimize the impact of some of these changes, especially, you know, in terms of the aesthetics. And, you know, maybe this is the best that we have to consider. But, you know, again, that's why at the very least, I'd like to see what the custom covers and wraps are in terms of options.
The way you're approaching this is you want all of these, and these are not cheap. And then if they don't work, you take them away. Isn't it a better approach to put fewer and see if that works and add more to it?
So the way that the contract is written and the agreement that we have with the vendor, we're actually the town is actually saving over $45,000 a year by changing the type of service that we're providing. By moving with these newer units that require less collection. The most expensive cost for downtown barrel collection is the actual physical collection of the solid waste and the disposal of that. When we're having to be serviced 7 days a week, 5 days of those are by a third-party contractor, and we're able to reduce that to 1 day a week. There's a significant cost savings to the town. These units are not actually being purchased by the town. They are leased and provided by the service provider. So we have a 3-year agreement to roll these out, and you know, hopefully we get some great feedback and we're able to continue that. So we're going, you know, the cost savings again, over $45,000, because this isn't the only area in town that these are getting rolled out. Everywhere that there's manual collection, public barrels for solid waste and recycling, we were replacing with these big bellies. So if anyone were to visit Emerson Park, Rideout Park, Thoreau Street, West Concord, they're already out there. And I would say this, after seeing them actually go in and seeing how big they aren't as big as one would think, right? I think the picture on that unit or on that brochure, you know, and it says 4 feet. When it's actually out there and they actually in the open space, they are pretty slick looking. They're very clean. They don't really stand out as much. I think they, you know, you look at the aesthetics of that versus, and my job is not the aesthetics, right? That's this group, but you look at that compared to the barrels that are out there in the wire baskets currently, it is a cleaner look. But as far as costs go, it's a significant savings, and you know, that's part of our role is to choose, you know, fiscally responsible options as well.
Dennis, it's Bill. If I could make a comment.
Hi, Bill.
I'm sorry, I disagree with the last set of comments. I find shit on the sidewalks in the historic districts a lot less attractive than having these cans. I think they're fine. It'd be nice if people didn't litter, but they do. The second is he's described an approach whose incentives are aligned with ours. They carefully monitor load, and if they don't use them, they'll have fewer. So I think the proposal is submitted is very well thought through, and we ought to approve it.
Thank you.
I want to say, I agree with Bill too. From Thoreau Street and Sudbury Road, where Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts is, straight down Sudbury to Main Street. I have 2 labs and I walk down that area and there's stuff everywhere. Food, cups, lids. It's like I'm constantly pulling them out of food, and it's so nice to have. And the one on Thoreau Street is fairly innocuous. I don't find it obnoxious looking. So,
Great, thank you. Okay, okay, Melinda.
Yeah, the only other thing I'd like to add is that, with the 250 coming up, we will have thousands of people next March. We will probably definitely need more trash containers. And this is what perhaps that somewhat goes in your thinking. You may have to have them, 2 or 3 times a week instead of once a week, which you're hoping for. But it certainly beats having trash all over the city, downtown, when we're going to have so many visitors. I mean, there's just no question that that's going to happen. And it won't be just, April 19th. It'll be, the weeks leading up and probably through the summer. So I think this is probably good. And then maybe later you can take a few away.
Can
Thank you.
may I provide a comment onto that?
Sure.
Sure.
So I'm involved with the public safety working group planning for the 250th event, working with police and fire. And for that event, specifically for the parade, as part of the public safety plan, all of these units will be removed. They pose a potential hazard to the visitors and participants, and we'll be replacing and utilizing temporary trash and recycling containers for that event. There'll be multiple of them out there for that long weekend. And once that event is over, then we'll be redeploying any permanent installations.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'd like to move this along. I think we've been on this for quite a while now. So if there are no other comments with new information, I'd like to ask the public to chime in if there's anybody that wants to make comments. I don't see any. And do you see anybody out there? I don't.
No, I don't.
No. Okay, does anybody want to make a motion? No one move this along.
I will take a stab.
Great.
I move that we approve the CPW Concord Center multiple sites as presented for the solid waste and recycling compactors.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Melinda seconds that?
Yep.
Great. So the voting members, let's take a vote here. Kate? You're muted. Nope. Aye. Catherine?
Nay.
Melinda?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Thank you very much. So let's hope this works.
Thank you.
Great, thanks. Okay, on to our second new public hearing. Although this sounds like someplace we've been before, but anyway, Christopher Davis, 525 Lexington Road, the American Mile Historic District, to reconfigure driveway and adding cobble edge and apron, add a post light, add fieldstone wall with granite piers. And do we have someone here representing Mr.
Yes.
Davis or Mr. Davis?
Yes, my name is Dan Gordon. I'm a landscape architect, and I'm here on behalf of Chris and Kara Davis of 525 Lexington Road. And Charlie Gabois is also here with me this evening. I'll make the presentation, but Charlie is the general contractor and may be able to add if there are comments. Should I proceed?
Yep. Move forward.
Okay. And can I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay, or I can leave it to your staff to present the materials, whichever you prefer.
You're welcome to share it.
Okay. So this, you can see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
So this was the application, and it basically identifies the work that includes repaving an existing asphalt driveway, making it slightly wider, about a foot and a half wider to the east, installing some cobblestone apron at the entrance to the driveway, a cobblestone edge along the driveway, which exists, so it's just replacing that. Some fieldstone wall along the street with a granite pier at the low granite pier at the driveway opening, and installing a light post and a luminaire. And I am going to show you some plans. So the first will be an existing conditions plan, and there's a series of views. There's one right from Lexington Road looking at the property, and I'm going to go to that now. Let's see if I can get this. There we go. So there is the view number one from Lexington Road of the existing condition. And we're looking up into the property from the road. The next one is the entry, and this is where we're proposing to add an apron. And then the last view is as you enter the property and you're maybe 100 feet or 50 feet up the driveway, you can see the existing driveway. And this is in need of repair. It has the the cobblestone edge, which we're going to replace. We're proposing to replace the asphalt driveway and make it just a foot and a half wider on this east side. And so those are the existing conditions. There are some existing trees. The symbols where the trees are gray are existing trees to remain. There are some trees to be removed and replaced, as well as some trees that are in this dash that are to be transplanted. The trees that are to be removed and replaced block the sight lines at the entrance of the road. They're Norway spruce. They're getting pretty big, and they're starting to limit sight lines. So we'll show you what will be replaced. So moving from existing conditions to proposed conditions, there's a series of views, additional photos I'll show you of the proposed improvements. Basically, they include the wall, the apron, cobblestone apron, the wall with the end granite posts, and as I said, the cobblestone apron, the new asphalt driveway that replaces the existing with the cobblestone edge, and one light post located here with a dark sky compliant luminaire. And I'll shift now to the images of those proposed improvements. And this is the random pattern antique cobble apron that we're proposing. This is an example of the wall. These are both precedents here in town. This one on Haywood Street, and this one on Lowell Road with the granite blocks that end the wall, that terminate the wall. This is just another example of the cobblestone apron and the cobblestone curb and the asphalt driveway that we're replacing. And one last image, if I can get this to cooperate, is the luminaire, which would be this one up in the upper left-hand corner, and this white tapered post with the here. So that's the proposed post and the luminaire. And that is the scope of the improvements. I'm happy to answer any questions the commission may have.
Okay, do we have questions?
I have a question about the cobble apron.
Yes.
Is it for aesthetics or is there a practical purpose?
It's just for aesthetics.
Okay.
The same question about the wall.
Yeah, we tried to look in the neighborhood and in the community, and we thought that it would actually support the character, you know, enrich the character. So it's really an aesthetic.
So to whose benefit, as you're saying, it's an improvement?
I think the hope is that it's to the community's benefit. I mean, I think to everybody. I mean, clearly the owners are looking to propose something that's attractive and enriching to the neighborhood as well. But that's subjective, I suppose.
I have a question about the cobblestone apron too. You showed two pictures. One of them was random and one of them was patterned.
Yeah, it's a random field, and it would have a border detail. But we were proposing a random pattern field.
And that stops before the sidewalk there?
Yes, yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to say to Dan that typically this commission has not encouraged cobble aprons in the district. We've done it once or maybe twice. A recent case, I think, was partly because the driveway was below grade from the road, and the argument was made that the cobble kind of helped stem things a little bit. But this is not something I would be likely to approve, the addition of this apron, and I'm wondering how it would affect the rest of the driveway.
I don't think it would have an effect on the driveway. You mean functionally or visually?
Or, you know, would there be anything else then they would change about the design if so? Like, would they still want the cobble edging?
The existing driveway has a cobble edge, and I think I'd like to retain that.
Mm-hmm.
The cobble edge is important for collecting and directing water as it comes down the driveway into drainage basins.
So wait, it already has a full cobble edge because it says add cobble edge.
Well, it's Dan, if you could go back to that photo, the cobble edge already exists, so that wording, that's not a pic. Yeah, there it is. Back up.
Mm-hmm.
The cobble edge already exists.
Right. So what cobble edge is being added?
None. It's just being, during the construction, it'll be removed and obviously put back in place.
Oh, okay. That was confusing. Okay.
Apologize. We probably wrote that incorrectly.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
I had a question about the paving. We've been, again, do we reiterate, are you using just macadam or are you using rolled stone there?
Just
in the macadam.
Just the asphalt macadam. Yeah.
What do you all feel about that? We've been fairly insistent on these driveways having a stone impregnated in them. What do you think?
Chip seal, the commission?
Yeah, I guess chip seal is the name for it.
I mean, I can use stone impregnated, surface if you prefer, Dennis, but chip seal's quicker. I know particularly in this particular part of the district, there's a chip seal. But it is also a bit challenging with our weather, parts of the year, but I don't know. I don't think we've ever really resolved it.
Okay. Anybody have any feelings about that, one way or the other?
I wanted to make two comments. I will start with the chip seal. I think that intervening in a driveway, it's a very good thing when you have something that it's limited and you can basically see the whole thing. This is not a driveway, this is a road that gets you from one point in Lexington Road to a very far away point on the top of the hill. So trying to embellish that with any material other than a functional material like asphalt, it's sort of a forced intervention, and I don't have any sympathy for asphalt whatsoever. But I don't think that chip seal has any advantage other than it being more ornamental, because it doesn't have any advantage in terms of the permeability or anything of that sort. Then the second thing I was going to say is that I don't see an apron there. You see, I've been looking at this picture and I increased it by 200%. And I don't see an apron between the street and the driveway. So I don't think that a cobblestone apron will be feasible there. If the matter is just draining water, you can certainly put a draining system with a grid and drain the water, and that would be fine. But just a few yards away, we made somebody removed an apron of stones. So I don't think that that apron we will be able to approve it as a matter of precedent, and as a matter that we made the argument that historically aprons in the historic district were out of place. Then the third part I want to mention, I'm sorry for being so long, it's that there's nothing wrong with making things prettier than what they are right now. The problem is that we are in a historic district, and making things prettier make things very artificial. And that's the reason that, while I don't have a primary objection against that stone wall, I do have a big objection about a very pretty wall with a very pretty landscape, which I'm sure is going to be very pretty. And then a driveway that it's going to make the whole thing to look like it just came out from a postcard or something like that. This is a historic road. This is what Paul Revere would have taken hadn't he been captured. So I think that it has to have some of that nitty-grittiness, and that is exactly what gives it the sense of place. Granted that this house has no sense of place in the context of many of the other historic contexts of the road, but I think that we cannot chip away from it. I think that if there's an intervention between the sidewalk and the actual property, it has to be very, very discreet, and certainly I will not be in favor of putting a wall, and I'm sure that that wall is going to be very nice. But if you make a wall that looks colonial, that looks like it was done in the 1600s, it's going to look artificial. No matter what you do, it's going to look like it was a very pretty intervention, and that's what we're trying to get away from it. Thank you.
I think the challenge here, as far as the wall goes, is we've gone around and around on these walls, and I understand where Luis is coming from, but we just approved one down the street with the same arguments back and forth. So I don't know. I don't have any strong opinion here, but why would you find that wall less objectionable than this wall?
Well, because I will tell you exactly what's the argument in favor of the other wall and against this wall. The other wall is very contextual with the house. When you see the wall, you see the house. And you have elements of design that complement and extend the concept that the wall conveys. So in other words, the wall in the Hawthorne Inn, it's part of the whole assembly. It's part of the whole object. This is a wall that it's by itself. It has no immediate purpose. It's not separating anything from anything. And the only thing you see behind it is vegetation. When I see walls with vegetation in this part of the world, I see a lot of woods, and I see abandoned cultivation plots and things of that sort. Or we see like the wall that the town was so kindly so kindly removed in front of the Emerson House. That's the type of walls that we see, and what we see is remnants. You see, we see something that was. We never see anything that has been newly built, except when we put it contextually, as we did in the Hawthorne Inn. That's the difference.
Thank you. Other comments? I can't see you on my screen. Tim.
It's Tim. Can we go back to the site plan, please? Whoever's presenting. We also noted that there's a proposed post. I just want to make a couple of comments. Proposed post light. We have not been approving proposed post lights. It's very clear in the guidelines that we're not in favor of those. And I just want to point that out, that there's one being proposed here right beside the apron. That's one comment. The second one is the proposed apron. I just want to be sure I'm looking at it correctly. There is a proposed trench drain on the uphill side of that apron. Is that correct?
Yes,
Which I understand. I just want to point out to the committee that
we do need a
I would totally understand the need for a trench drain on that type of channeled driveway. There is not an existing apron there now. There's existing cobbles on the edge of the drive, but there is no existing apron now, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to clarify that. And then getting back to the discussion about the stone wall, I'm not sure I can put it even remotely as eloquently as Luis, but I agree with him. I think this wall is a bit arbitrary without a house behind it, but putting up a very sort of precise wall in front of vegetation just seems out of place. We don't have precedent for that, as far as I know, and it's a prettifying, if that's not such a word, but I happen to like the simple vegetation that's there now with the drive leading up in a very simple manner. It's just a drive in the woods, if you will. And if you need to widen it and improve the edges, understood. But I would not be in favor of putting a wall there in front of existing vegetation. If there's a house there, I could much more see the argument. And the last little just question is, there's small points along the drive. I assume those are drainage structures, the little black dots.
Yes.
Those
And
aren't lights, anything, right?
Those are drainage structures.
Those are, right?
Yes. And that was my comment before about the cobbles needing to stay. That keeps the water to channel into that.
Understood. Okay. Okay. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Getting back to the post light, when you came before us before, we already had this discussion and we told you we wouldn't do the post lights and we suggested bollards. And I think you heard us loud and clear on that. So I'm not understanding why you're coming back to the post light again.
It had been quite some time and I didn't pick up that detail. I apologize.
Yep. We would understand if you need a low bollard to light the road, but not a post light.
Okay.
Anything else from commission members?
I have a couple of things. One, just a general comment, say that we had the last go round on this, I believe, said no to apron and post lights and wall in this situation. The other is nobody has mentioned joint ownership of this driveway. Is that still in play?
Yes.
And how does the neighbor feel about
No, there's not
co-owner?
There's not joint ownership. The existing owner has rights to this individually.
The neighbor.
No, the Mr. Davis is the only person who has rights to travel over this area.
Okay.
And just for clarification, our previous submission was withdrawn. It wasn't turned down, and it was withdrawn with the idea we were going to come back with better ideas.
Right.
Okay.
Which you have.
Yeah.
Other,
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to say is, I'm on record, of course, for having been in opposition to the wall up the street at the Hawthorne Inn. But I will say that there was a bit of an argument that it was justifiable because it had a purpose in mind with regards to the property, not purely just being a wall for the sake of having a wall. So, there.
do we have other comments? Anybody else want to make a comment?
I would like to comment. I agree with my fellow commissioners on all three of the items. I would say, though, that if you wanted to put an attractive wall, the way, I mean, you could still do that up near the house, and it could be very elegant. But down at the bottom, it just doesn't seem to make sense. But lots of big estates put walls up closer to the house, even if you're not going to see that from the street. So I just wanted to add that. But the other things we discussed so recently, and with another home that was not similar to yours, but definitely nearby, and had some of the same issues. And we basically did not agree to the majority of what they were asking for, because we didn't feel it was what's the word I want, but in the historic district, it was not something that would be what we were looking for. If you were in another part of town, maybe you could have done it, but not there.
May
Anybody
I ask a
else?
question? Yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask a question on procedure, whether this could be approved, the elements, whether you could make a motion to approve the driveway, or do we need to resubmit a plan? But how would you like to proceed?
I'm going to get any outside comments first, and then hold that. We'll get back to it on how we should proceed. Are there any public comments on this application? I don't see any. Great, Dan, now we'll get back to your question. Anne?
And I think Dan's question was, if you're if you don't see a path for the wall, clearly no path for the apron or light, can we ask your permission to widen the driveway the 1 foot so that we can repair it?
Right. We've done that in the past. But Anne, I just wanted a clarification from you on how to proceed.
Yes, the applicant could do a partial withdrawal as they did last time, and could withdraw certain items that they do not think would pass, and then simply request changes to the driveway, if
Great.
that's what they're looking for.
So
or could you make a motion that just only included the driveway?
That's another option. Mhm.
Does someone want to make a motion that only includes the work on the driveway?
Well, so
And not on other items?
Walter here, before you get to that, we haven't discussed whether we should endorse widening the driveway. The discussion up till now has been about replacement.
Okay, well, if someone wants to bring that up, we'll be glad to discuss it. I guess you are, Walter.
I think I may
No one brought
already
it up, so
have.
it wasn't discussed. Thoughts on widening the driveway, whether that's something we want to allow? I have no strong opinion. I'll say that up front.
Yeah.
I will say I have no concerns about that. I think it's de minimis.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not very.
Given the length of the drive, I can understand its necessity. I did want to just ask a question as to the design team and contractors. Are we looking to make a motion to approve certain components and then have a continuance on other items so that you can reconsider other items, or are you going to be
No.
just?
No, you've been clear in what is you're going to approve and what you're interested in. So I don't think we're coming back. I mean, we put together, you know, a proposal, and I think it's been heard. So
Okay, thank you.
I think we're just seeking to get your approval for the elements that you endorse, and that's it. And whatever you prefer, if you want us to come back with a revised plan, we can do that. Or if you just want to approve with conditions of the elements that meet your approval, that's fine too.
So what we're looking at is someone making a motion that narrows the approval to the items we feel confident that we can allow to go forward, and the others just will not get approved. Does someone want to attempt that?
I could try.
We'll withdraw the other ones.
Okay.
Fine.
I would move that we approve Mr. Davis's 525 Lexington Road application to reconfigure the driveway, adding a foot, maintaining the cobble edge, with no approval for an apron, a post light, a fieldstone wall, or granite piers.
Would that approval include the trench drain across at the bottom?
I think, yes, that would improve the trench drain.
I think we
It's a
should.
1.5 is the width that we've asked for. The addition. Some places it's a foot, some it's a 1.5. We want to make it uniform.
Good.
I don't see any objection to that.
No, I don't think so. So do I have a second to that, to Lewis's motion?
I'll second.
Kate seconds.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's have a vote. Kate,
Aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Tim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so moving on to continued public hearings. This is the town of Concord, Concord Center, multiple sites, Main Street Historic District, to install a set of teak public benches. Who is here from the town?
Hello, this is Mimi Graney. I'm the Economic Vitality Manager for the town.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. If it's okay for me to share my screen, I can share with you the slideshow. I always find it a little tricky because the tools. So this is the map showing in blue the proposed sites that we're looking to do the teak benches. And at the last meeting, folks had asked for me to just highlight exclusively the sites that are within historic districts. So I'll do that. So just a reminder that this is funded through a grant received by the Massachusetts Office of Travel and Tourism to support the 250th, specifically to encourage people to get out of their cars and be able to walk between the historic districts. The goal is to encourage people to use public transit and to limit the amount of vehicles that are coming through. And that's fundamentally the goal, to encourage people to visit the historic sites, support the local businesses, and to walk between the sites rather than adding more. So this is the style of bench that the HDC approved at the last meeting. This is identical to the benches outside of the library. I received this from their designers. There had been another style we were also looking at, but we're finding that there's only 2 teak benches that I've been able to find from any vendors. And this is the only one that's available, that's not back ordered, for us to be able to get in time for the 250th.
Okay.
And so these would be mounted either with L-shaped brackets on the feet, sort of kind of a standard way that they might be attached elsewhere, or with a subsurface anchor that's embedded into the ground. You wouldn't even see it, and that there'd be a cable that would attach to the leg of the bench. And that's basically just to allow for the bench to be moved for landscaping underneath it, or for whatever needs that might need to kind of be moved around, but keep it from walking away and getting stolen. So the first site, this is at the end of the Reformatory Trail, where it encounters Monument Street. We're proposing, if you're heading towards the North Bridge, it would be on the left-hand side. This site would also need to be reviewed by the Natural Resources Division. This other one is the alleyway off of Walden Street, right next to is the antique store here on the right. It looks like this was originally intended to have benches on it. As you can see, there's like these brick bump outs for it, and we're proposing to put 2 benches there, basically where it looks like it was meant to be installed. This other one is on Lexington Road, near the Emerson House. I see that there's a granite block here. The style of bench that we're choosing is really meant to function as a bench. We're following the guidelines of being an age-friendly community, benches that are comfortable and easy for people to access, so that it would have a back and an arm to allow people to get up and down, and also would just be more comfortable rather than a cold stone one. And so when I'm done, I'll kind of talk a little bit about, I recognize that the goal was to not have the benches near these granite blocks. When I show you the map, I'm kind of challenged to find other appropriate sites along a 1.5 mile long stretch that are wide enough to have the benches. Another proposed site is the other section of the Reformatory Trail. This is right at the end opposite Trails End Cafe and Nosh, to have it kind of proximate to where the sign is here. This site would also need to go before the Natural Resources Division. In Monument Square, trying to find someplace that would be on the hardscape, so it would be accessible to people with mobility challenges, and somewhere on this kind of on the route. 2 proposed sites are here by the water fountain, or on the other side next to this other granite block. This is one of the lower key locations, but again, trying to find any kind of appropriate sites proximate to the sidewalk. There's an existing granite bench here. I go up and down this road multiple times a day. I've never seen anybody sitting on it. So trying to find something, again, nearby that we could put an age-friendly bench. Behind Middlesex Savings Bank, this is where a lot of visitors congregate. There's 2 on this site. One is behind the building, right opposite this walkway, underneath the tree. I'm in conversation, have kind of reached out to Middlesex Savings Bank, but haven't gotten approval from them yet. This one is on private property. And the other one on Middlesex Bank, similar to the one off of Walden, there's a brick pad that looks like it was initially intended for a bench or maybe a bike rack or something. We're proposing to put a bench there. At the Robbins house, nearby, we're sort of looking at this side here, anticipating this is maybe a place where people might get dropped off or be waiting for a ride, that proposing a bench alongside here. It's my understanding that that's town-owned property. On Lexington Road, there's sort of a wide kind of a hard or like a compacted sand sidewalk here. We're proposing one along this stretch. And then at the Wright Tavern, looking at having one near the sort of no parking sign here. This is this entrance that is currently kind of functioning as their most accessible entrance. And again, a spot where people might be waiting to get picked up or dropped off. And it's kind of proximate to Lexington Road. And I have been in touch with the Wright Tavern. They are willing to have a bench, and the kind of conversations are continuing with them. At Haywood Meadow, I'm going to withdraw this one. They already have a bench kind of in the middle here, and there were 2 benches that were removed in here that are going to be replaced, even though they're not kind of meeting the goal of assisting people who are walking along the path. It's kind of overkill on benches, so I'm not going to pursue that one. Over by South Burying Ground, we're proposing 2 over on this lawn here. This is another spot that's highly frequented by visitors here on Keyes Road. And then 2 on the stretch of Main Street coming between Thoreau Depot towards the library. This one would be sort of on the bump out of the sidewalk. this is town-owned land, but it's maintained by the Concord Academy. I'm scheduling a meeting with their maintenance person. They're amenable, and we're just sort of working out one of the specifics. But having walked the site with Public Works, this was one of the few places that we found that was wide enough to accommodate. And then another one, this one is fully on Concord Academy property that is here on the lawn. Right now, they're using this, as you can see, as kind of temporary parking, but we're proposing it here on this grass. At the library, there are a couple benches, but they're set off, and they're actually not handicapped accessible because they're on grass. So we're proposing one closer to the edge here so that they'd be accessible for somebody who's handicapped waiting for or waiting for a ride or using the handicap spots. And then outside 100 Main Street, the property line is here, so we have a little bit of space to be able to put one bench. It's a little wider here. This is where there's the we call it electric charging, and there's also, as you can see, there's a crosswalk here, so it's kind of a natural place, even though we've got very limited parking on this side or limited seating on this side, or at least trying to put an eye line, a place to rest. So I recognize that for some reason we'll go back. I know that that's a lot of detail. I would kind of propose, I had hoped to meet with Anne because at the last meeting, the goal was to be able to kind of brainstorm and see where it might be a good location. Anne wasn't available. So hoping maybe for a site visit or other representatives from the HDC to sort of assist to find what might be an appropriate location. I'll share with you the challenge from my point of view, which is to figure out where to put some appropriate benches that meet my goal of being able to allow people to walk from the North Bridge to the Concord Museum. So there's actually no age-friendly bench anywhere on this side of the North Bridge. Very limited seating. I actually went with a friend who is disabled, and I was not able to bring her there. So I'm proposing one at the Robbins House, this one at the Reformatory Trail. Then the one here at the Wright Tavern is set off a little bit from the sidewalk. This is the one that was right by the overpass. This is the one at the Emerson House. And I recognize these are the ones that are kind of most, I guess, most desirable of me and maybe most challenging for the HDC to review. When I remove them, it basically means that we've got a 1.5 mile long stretch without a place to sit down. There's benches, but ones that actually aren't serving as functional benches. So as we kind of maybe dig into the individual sites that are under review, if it's ones along this stretch, I'd like to request a site visit so that we can sort of see on how we might be able to meet the goals for people to walk and rest, and the aesthetics that the HDC is looking for. So what would be the best way that folks would like to proceed, or if there's any questions?
Do we have questions?
I just have a quick question.
Thoughts?
Hi, Mimi. There were just a couple of sites that you showed that had a bench nearby, like number 8, Chamberlain Park, had the backless granite bench. And
Right.
I missed it. Will that come out and then a teak bench will go in, or will the teak bench be nearby? And what?
I'm not proposing to remove any of the benches. As it is, I'm trying to stretch this funding as far as possible. And I recognize that the teak benches are kind of, by the nature of the material, less durable, probably aren't going to last that long. And I'm intending to add more seating. That's probably, of the ones that right now I'm proposing a number of different sites, and I've got I think 27 altogether on the list. I've already had to take a couple off, so I think I'm down to 25. I've got funding only for 15.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's the one that I'm most likely to take off. I agree. It's not an ideal spot, and it's kind of not meeting anybody's needs.
Right.
But if the natural resources division doesn't allow the one on Lowell Road, I'm trying to kind of play a little matchmaking and figure out how to be able to help people leapfrog, but not drop too many off along the way on these paths.
Okay, I was just wondering what would happen. Would you put a new bench near an existing bench, and would that look funky? But I see that's not happening.
Yeah, I don't have the funds to get that fancy.
Okay, all right.
So the one near the Hawthorne House, Hawthorne House, near the Emerson House, that's not going to be a bench on top of a bench there, because there's already a granite bench there.
The proposal is to put it alongside, nearby, and that's where it would be helpful to talk to the HDC. I did kind of walk this with Public Works, and we found kind of pretty limited locations that were appropriate, that weren't going to impact snow removal, that had the right width, that had a hardscape nearby, that was actually on the side of the road that people were going to walk. So I'm proposing to have it nearby.
Yeah, I think that's a location where we were just there today, and the granite bench has been hit probably by a snowplow. It's pushed off to the side, and it looks like a pile of sand was dropped on top of it, which is sort of coming off the back of it. So that leads me to another topic, as the town maintaining what it already has. Sort of wearing another hat, I know there are 3 benches that were donated during the celebrations of April 19th, I think 25 years ago, I believe, and 2 of them unusable. None of them were maintained by the town, and one of them seems to have been hit by a snowplow. Do you plan, because you need as many benches as possible, to repair those?
I had initially sought to have those repaired, and was working with Public Works, and I wasn't kind of able to get any traction or get funding to be able to do that. So this is an alternative, and kind of the long-term goal, I mean, with my hat as Economic Vitality Manager, is to have benches that function as benches. And some of those older ones didn't meet the needs of being age friendly, but I do appreciate the sort of helping with those first ones. So I did map them, work with the groups to figure out where they all are, what the needs are, but I wasn't able to get those repaired. But long-term, I'd like to. These teak ones are really meant to kind of be short-term. And, by the nature of them, the agreements that I've drafted with the property owners, the private property owners, is for them to be on place for 3 years. But then if they need repair, if the property owner doesn't agree, that they'd be removed upon request.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate the town they're adding new benches when they can't take care of what it already has. That's an unfortunate situation. Catherine, you had something you want to say?
Yeah, just maybe just to clarify, so there are a total of 27, and you mentioned it looks like it's now down to 25 new benches being proposed. So this is in addition to anything that is pre-existing.
Right, and I can show you on the map of the ones that are pre-existing.
No, that's okay. I think I have visual memory of that. Okay.
Yeah, but I've only got funds to do about 15.
Right, right.
And maybe 12 of them are within the historic district's purview?
Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
So 15, but you only get 15.
Well, some of the other ones are in Thoreau Depot, which so I kind of try to mix and match again, try to help those walking routes between those key destinations.
Right, but you only have funding for 15 new benches.
Right.
And 15 out of the 27 would be in historic district.
Out of the 27 or so proposed, 15 are in historic districts, yes.
15 are all you have funding for.
Right.
So what about the other areas? It sounds like.
So if the HDC were to approve all of them, I'm not going to put them all the ones I presented you definitely will not all have benches, because I have to prioritize some of the other locations too. So the ones that are in Thoreau Depot, folks didn't want to see all of them again. So
Right. I would say, just speaking, my own objection would be that there shouldn't be a bench close to a granite bench within maybe 8 feet or something. I mean, I understand you need a comfortable bench that someone could actually sit in, and that some people can't sit on granite slabs, but I wouldn't relate them to each other. I would keep them. Those are the ones I would have the most objections to.
Yeah, I would agree.
Understand.
Totally agree
Yeah, I
with
would
that.
agree with that. Yes.
I think especially the ones around Monument Square are put very intentionally. They have a pattern as it goes around the circle, the oval, and to introduce a different kind of material is going to look very strange, even by the water fountain where there's a granite bench there as well.
Yeah, especially, yeah, just that adjacency. And I think, particularly if, we have already a challenge with the amount of benches that are going to be approved, with the funding, then, I would say we all understand that some of those granite benches are not ideal, but again, both in terms of aesthetics and, what we're able to place where, I would say, the first areas I would eliminate are where we do have an existing granite bench.
I think you should take the ones from Monument Square, move them to Bedford Farms. So there's more seating there.
That's not a viable spot for me to be able to go to.
Bowing.
So again, I think it would be helpful, the ones that are in Monument Square, if we could do a site visit, so folks can kind of help me brainstorm about where to be able to put an age-friendly bunch there, because that's the kind of key block. And right now, there's not one accessible seating in that whole area. And I recognize the desire for maintaining that design within that kind of main monument area. But when I was walking through with Public Works, with the visitor center, I've been sort of stymied a little bit, and it might be helpful to have the HTC lens when we go out and look and see what might be amenable. There might be something on the other side of the street, just to have that informed along the way. The pace that this is going, I have several more rounds of reviews from folks. So right now, it doesn't look like these benches are going to get installed before March, the way we're going. So we've got time to go out and ponder.
I think Mimi has a good idea, but I don't think it's a good idea for all of us to go trudging around town for each site. I think maybe a subcommittee of a couple of people would be willing to work with her and report back to the full commission. That would be appreciated. Is there anyone here who'd want to work with her on developing some final sites and coming back to the commission?
I could help her.
I'd be happy to.
Okay, Walter and Kristen, do you want to work with her?
What, do I want to work with Kristen?
No, Walter and
Oh.
Kristen, do you want to work with Mimi, not Kristen?
No,
Sorry if that was badly worded.
Happy
I didn't mean
to.
it that way. Anyway, yeah. So why don't you connect? Maybe get a hold with Walter and Kristen. You can do that through Anne, and you come back to us with some final recommendations that we can take a look at.
Great, that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
I just want to make one comment, very quick.
Sure.
I think this is the best idea that has come through this commission in a long, long time. I suggest that we give Mimi and this initiative all the support that we can muster. And if anything is missing in Concord, and I've been saying this for a long, long time, is benches. So this time is 27. Well, next year, let's use 27 more. Thank you.
No doubt it's a great idea. We just have to work on it a bit.
Especially at Bedford Farms. There's nowhere to sit there.
If I could just say two things. Mimi, I think that the spirit of what we were trying to convey the last time we were discussing, as much as anything, was that we, as commissioners, did not want to impinge aesthetically on the existing benches there. So that's the important thing to address. If you have only 15 options, if we can work out the way that those 15 are placed so that we're not prioritizing positions that have them in close proximity to existing benches, I think that'll make everybody pretty happy. And then I hate to mention, I have a stray question. Who's carrying the insurance for liability on the places where you're putting them on private property?
So the town is, basically the agreement is that, the town's not taking any liability for it. Of course, I haven't gotten anybody to sign the agreement yet.
Yeah,
But we're hoping that folks will be amenable. In some circumstances, like for example, in Thoreau Depot, we're replacing, they've got like this rickety bench
Right.
that's there, so we're
I
giving
remember.
upgrade. So I'm hoping that folks will be amenable for that.
Great. Good. Are we all set? We move forward? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck with your benches. Okay, our last hearing is the Concord Museum, 53 Cambridge Turnpike.
Missing someone.
Sorry, what am I missing? Am I missing one? Oh, sorry. Bottom of my sheet, Robert Fleming, 92 Walden Street, Main Street Historic District. The applicant is asked to revise the application by removing 5 of the 8 replacement windows.
Excuse me.
Kate,
before we
Kate, you sent me a note that you'd like to be removed from voting on this because you haven't been involved in this.
I don't think I'm sufficiently up to snuff.
Good, so I'm going to replace Kate as a voting member with, I guess, Lewis.
Dennis, just a question. We didn't need to vote on the last item?
No, we haven't, it's coming back to us again. There's a subcommittee that's gonna meet with her. Walter and Kristen are gonna meet and take a look at it. So I guess we have to vote to continue. Is that what you're saying?
Just a procedural question. I would think we'd want to just vote as a continuance.
That's a good point. And do we need to vote on continuance?
Yes, I think you do.
Okay. Thank you, Tim, for keeping us straight. Okay, do I have someone who's gonna move for continuance?
I move we continue.
Kate, you're seconding it?
A second.
Okay, so the voting members, Kate, you can vote on this one. Kate?
Okay, I'm ready for this one. Yes,
Okay.
aye.
Tim?
Aye.
Melinda?
Aye.
Catherine?
Hi.
And I'm in favor of the continuance. Thank you again. Okay, so back to Mr. Fleming at 92 Walden Street.
Right, so I originally had an application for 8 windows and I've taken 5 of them off, and so we're down to 3 windows. The 3 windows are part of a bay window, which is on the side of my house. The bay window was not part of the original house. It was added on sometime after the fact. It has modern windows in it, modern trim in it. It's I don't think it has any particular historic significance. It's the windows are a different size than any other windows in the house. So the fact that new windows might be off by a couple of inches is kind of irrelevant, because these windows are like 5 inches taller and wider than the other ones. It's you can see it from the road and from the sidewalk, but they're obscured by trees and shrubs, and when the leaves are out, it's pretty much, you can't really see them. They're kind of towards the back of the house, and one of the primary reasons, well, the primary reason I'm doing it, wanting to do something, is they're a tremendous heat loss. There's a lot of glass there, it's single pane glass. The windows are windows with weights and pockets in the wall, so there's big voids in the wall with no insulation. And this is kind of an opportunity to address that. I would point out there was a site visit today, so a number of people on the commission have seen the site, and that's about all I have to say.
Great. A clarification, I think there's a misunderstanding that we want to restore buildings back to as they originally were. And we're very interested in buildings as they've evolved over time. And this bay window is very much a part of the evolution of that building over time. So not being a part of the original house is not, as far as I'm concerned, is not a problem. And actually, I think they're reasonably attractive on the house as it's evolved. So I think I just want to make sure we're clear on that we want to preserve the 1880s editions as well as we do of the 1780s editions. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
No, that's actually very consistent with my own view. I mean, this is not Sturbridge Village. I mean, people lived in these houses and they changed. And I'm actually not changing the look of it at all. I mean, I'm replacing the windows, but it's not. Right. I'm not going to modify the look of the bay window at all, really.
Other thoughts from the site visit today?
Sure. What we did not really discuss is what materials you're looking at for replacing these. You've been talking about fiberglass before. Has that evolved?
No, it's the same thing.
So Marvin restoration or whatever. Marvin yes. Renewal. So we're still back to the discussion we had before about storm windows versus non-storm windows and the size of the openings. So you're talking about replacing the entirety of these window sections.
Right, and I would remove the storm windows at that point. There'd be no need for them anymore.
The discussion we had before was about the resulting width of the windows and what looked more, essentially what looked more original versus.
To be honest, these windows are actually bigger than the other windows on the house.
Yeah, no, I remember the discussions. So I would just. I'm sorry, Dennis.
That's in keeping with the Victorian bay window. They're different size. So have you looked into restoring? I'm not as up to speed on this, as you know. I missed a meeting, the meeting when this came up. Did you look into having these windows restored?
I have. I've looked into a bunch of options, and I mean, these windows are modern windows. I mean, they're not something that's old. I mean, there's not old glass or anything like that in them. It seemed somewhat pointless to restore what those windows were. There are out of the other windows that I've taken off, I'm intending to restore some of those. I mean, those are genuinely really old windows, and there's something worth preserving in them, I think.
Just in terms of visiting that today, Rob, it appeared to me that those windows were 1880s vintage. Are they newer than that?
I think so. I think they were replaced at some point. I don't think they're 1880s. It's hard to know. I mean, they have the weights in the pockets in the wall. I mean, I think that came in, I think, about that era. But I don't know. Just if you look at I don't know, just looking at them from the inside, I think they're newer than that. I don't think they've been in there all that time.
I tend to agree with him that they're probably original to that bay window. I think they're probably original. I have no reason to believe they aren't. Because you're right, sash weights came in around that period.
And just to be clear, just as Walter was listening to the rest of the commission, and Rob, I want you to confirm this, is what you're proposing is taking the existing sashes out, leaving the existing frame and casings in all exterior trim, and putting a new fiberglass unit, Marvin replacement unit, which includes a frame. So this unit and frame sits inside the existing frame, so you don't have to mess with the existing casing. Is that correct? And the storm window comes off and stays off.
Yes, that's correct.
So the discussion we had last time, Dennis, had to do with the fact that these windows will be a few inches smaller because we're putting a frame within a frame. And the casing, it's not going to be in historic detail on the edges. They'll be close to what is there, but they're going to be a few inches smaller because and it's assuming we're okay with proving a fiberglass frame within a frame, which when foliage is down is quite visible quite close and quite visible from the street. So I appreciate that the owner has reduced the numbers considerably, but the discussion points we had over the last two meetings are still the same, is how do we feel about which I guess we don't have formal proof, but to my eye, those look like original windows to 1880s Bay. They don't look like a modern window at all. So that's kind of where we are.
Can I hear from some other members their feeling on these windows?
I mean, I think they're definitely 1880s windows.
So where does that get us?
Well, if I may, I mean, the purpose of having a site visit was to ascertain the state of the existing windows and get a sense close up of how old they actually were and what had been replaced and what hadn't. I agree. I see no reason to suspect that they're not 1880s in the original place. I'm glad, I'm relieved that it's down to those three. And I have no problem per se, personally, having been there and understanding what they actually are with replacing them essentially in kind. If they're done with wood, I'm still not a big fan of doing fiberglass. The argument, Dennis, that was made last time as well was that by putting the fiberglass frame within a frame, that it would eliminate the need for the external storms, and the apparent look of the windows would be that they would look like they were larger than they are now, because the visual restriction imposed by the storm, the exterior storm, was not going to be there anymore. So while the window itself would be smaller with the frame within a frame, the apparent width of the window, because it wouldn't be blocked by the external storm, would be wider. But that still doesn't address or resolve the fiberglass versus wood issue. And that's the question we really have.
Or not maintaining original windows, which can be restored, knowing that is not a perfect solution, but it's a historic solution in a bay that's reasonably prominent in that area. Do we have other thoughts about the windows? I'll go to public comments and we can come back and see if we have some other thoughts after that, if that's where everybody wants to go at this point.
I just want to make another point following on Walter's, which I think we raised last time to the owner, and having just done this on my own house in a historic district, having put in wood Marvin windows that were approved, if the owner is amenable to replacing these with a Marvin wood window, which involves removing the existing frame, adjusting the casing as required, and putting a unit back that's essentially the same size, he gains besides the fact that we may be more amenable to approving that, he gains the advantage of having more glass, keeping the amount of glass as he has now, plus properly insulating all the cavities around a new frame. This isn't a visual thing, but this is just a performance thing of actually putting a high performance window with insulating glass. And if we approve simulated divided lights, then you can insulate what used to be the cavity space with the sash weight and really do it properly with the right size glass appropriate to that size bay, which is what he has now. So I'm just noting that there are advantages to the homeowner of doing a proper wood frame Marvin window, assuming that's with a caution that we are comfortable saying, yes, you could move ahead with a wood window replacement that's very, very similar in shape and size to what you have now. But it would be a high performance window in that situation.
So I actually, my initial attempt at this was that's exactly what I wanted, as I wanted to do that. And Marvin would actually custom, to a certain degree, they would custom cut the windows, and they had these things they called sash packs that they had a track that went in the side that the window fit in, and they would custom make the window within reason. They would custom make the windows to fit in that, and they no longer do that anymore, and it's just not available. I mean,
I'm talking about
that was my first choice.
you take the entire existing window and frame out, and you put a new frame, Marvin frame, and window in, and they'll do any size you want within a quarter of an inch. It's just a wood Marvin window that you can specify jam depth and rough openings, but you need to take the entire frame out and put a new frame and window back properly sealed and insulated. So it does involve, more carpentry, but we're talking about 3 windows here. So we just want to be clear, that's a perfectly viable option and gives the homeowner a better product.
I don't have to add a very quick comment, which is that I think that we all should take into account the fact that when the storm paints are removed, no matter for what reason, whether the window is restored or replaced by Marvin, etc., it's going to look so much better than it looks right now. That should be one major consideration, and I will agree with Tim that having a replacement window that looks like the other one and remove some of the extraneous elements of the current one will be very advantageous.
Okay, let me move to public comments. Are there public comments about these windows? Any neighbors? Anybody want to say something? I guess not. So what I now need, if there are no more comments from the commission, I need a motion.
Well, I think, Dennis, there can be just a little bit more discussion on this. I know it's getting.
You can discuss as long as you want, but no one was discussing, so I want to move. I
understand that. So the question really is, Mr. Fleming, is this something that you would absolutely rule out, or something that you would consider the sage advice of an architect on commission?
I would consider what the idea of taking the whole frame out and replacing the frame.
Well, Marvin, as Tim says, Marvin does provide a quality, complete window to whatever specifications you want. It's a different approach than purely replacing the sash with a fiberglass sash. But as he says, and in my experience as well, there are considerable benefits to taking that approach, visually, but also more importantly in terms of weatherproofing everything. I think my sense, and I maybe can't be speaking for all my fellows this way, but my sense is that the fiberglass replacement sash in a smaller frame is visually not nearly as desirable an outcome as replacing the entire window with a wooden window rather than just the fiberglass sash. And it would have the benefit of not shrinking the size of those windows in that space. It's probably, without running the numbers on it, it probably costs more, frankly, than putting the fiberglass sashes in. But frankly, again, you may save that in energy loss ultimately for being able to insulate close to the entirety of that bay space. So the question that I have, and why I would say there's more discussion, is, we can make a motion to deny or a motion to approve or a continuance, but I'm just trying to solicit your thought on whether that would be something that you would consider or that you are considering.
I'm not exactly sure what you're referring to. I mean, this idea of taking the whole sash out and
Tim, maybe you can explain this better than I can again.
It's taking the entire existing window unit out, including the frame, sash weights, the whole deal, and putting in a new Marvin wood window,
Complete.
frame and sash. It'd be a very similar size, and you'd have to work with a contractor who can size the right unit for you. It's not a Marvin replacement situation. It's a Marvin wood window that is basically going to be replicating as close as they can to what you have now, but using insulating glass. No storm window, of course. So it's not maybe a different Marvin rep. I don't know that, Marvin's got different reps for different things, but Marvin makes a very high quality wood window that is used in all kinds of historic buildings. It's a very nice profile, very high performance, and you will get more glass and better, as we said before several times, better energy performance. So it'll involve interior casing work and it'll involve exterior casing work. But it's a chance to really insulate that bay properly, because you've said that's a very leaky bay. And there's a lot of probably voids and gaps in the studs work. And so this is a chance to really tighten it up properly with a proper wood window and not a replacement window. I mean, not an insert window. I hope that's clear.
So this is the third go on this particular bay window, or the windows in this house. The third time we've discussed it. I'm sort of reticent to have a continuance on this. I think we've got to settle some of these continuances and not let them go on forever. So I'm looking for some guidance of how we might be able to settle this tonight.
Well, I think I just want to add, I think it needs to be at least acknowledged that if it's 3 replacement windows, full Marvin wood windows, as opposed to the fiberglass inserts, it's a very different price point discussion.
It's a different price point. It's a much bigger job, and I guess I would also point out when you were standing in front of the window, I regret not pointing this out. If you turned around 25 feet away is a Anderson replacement window, insert window, which was approved this past year for that house, and my neighbor's house. There's something that seems somewhat unfair about that to me.
The discussion, if I may, last month was, I think, that there was no record of that having been approved, unless I'm missing something.
No,
it may have been done, but it was approved.
It was a house across the street when they were going to make the windows smaller in the kitchen. But I don't think it was for an insert window. I think it was for a totally brand new Marvin wood window.
This is the house that's the next one down on Walden Street from me. It's on the same side of the road. I mean, he had Anderson replacement windows. They're window within a window.
No, that one I don't think we saw.
I don't remember seeing.
Or approved.
Anyway,
he might have done it, but we didn't. I don't think we saw it.
Right.
And Ann can certainly check on it at some point.
Well, I think she did.
So again, moving along, we can get some traction here. I'd really appreciate it. I can't make a motion.
I mean, it sounds like the commission is not going to approve what you have, but if you did say that you were going to do what Tim suggested in terms of an all wood window, they might. I'm not I'm not voting tonight, but that's what
No,
it sounds.
I suggest that
No, you
the
are,
team
you
makes a
are, you
motion.
actually are voting on this because.
Oh, was it Luis or Lewis who's voting?
No, it was Lewis, not Louis.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Even still, it does
Sorry about
sound,
that.
it sounds as if that's going to be the consensus, that you could, maybe the commission would approve something that was exactly the same in wood, but it doesn't sound like the group feels like an insert window is going to work, but I don't know.
Well, the only way to find out is to make a motion and see if there's a second and whether the voting members support it. If someone would like to do that.
Well, not too confusing. I think we need, we're, unless Mr. Fleming is willing to consider a wood window, what we're going to be doing is making a motion to reject this application. I believe.
It certainly sounds that way. So I guess it's better to walk away with the possibility of maybe replacing it with a wood window, being able to do that, than nothing. So am I supposed to make the motion? I don't know exactly.
No, you can't make the motion.
And I make a motion that well, it sounds like it's continuous. I think we can say, I mean, we don't have a product submission, so it would have to be a continuance, I think, to see a product cut sheet for a Marvin Wood window. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, and clarification, if we wanted to come back with a new proposal, does he have to reapply for this whole thing, or can we modify that and let him come back a fourth time with a proposal for these windows?
Yeah, I think that you're the chair, but I think that you could have an amendment or something to the proposal, which has been done before, and with a new submission.
Okay. So then I guess we are looking for a continuance, correct, Anne?
I can't make a motion. I'm not a commission member.
No, I mean, just a clarification.
If that's what the owner would like to do, and if that's what the HDC would like to do, then yes.
So if the owner would like to come back again, modifying this proposal, we can keep it going.
All right.
So this is just a continuance. We're not stipulating what the anything about the continuance, correct?
No, but I think he knows where we're going. So I think he knows what.
Well, shouldn't give the homeowner a little more guidance in terms of what are we continuing and where we're expecting the continuance to finish. Maybe.
Well, I think to sum it up, what we're saying is that I think Lewis said it. To Tim, we're looking at a new wood window in there, Marvin window that echoes what's there now, and not the insert that he had suggested in this application or requested in this application.
Do we need to have that verbiage as part of the continuance?
No, just guidance. That's guidance. I don't think we need to do
just
that.
As you said. Okay, so it's insulating glass. It's a wood insulating glass.
Yeah, we're not telling him what to do. We're just telling him where this committee seems to be going. Commission seems to be going if he wants to get approval.
Yeah. Okay.
So someone make a continuance.
I move that we continue 92 Walden Street.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Catherine, thank you. Okay, so in voting, Tim, we know where you stand.
Aye.
Catherine.
Aye.
Melinda.
Aye.
And Lewis.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, so round 4. Thank you very much.
Right.
And we'll see you at an upcoming meeting. Great. Okay, now on to our last hearing. Flip the page. And this is the Concord Museum at 53 Cambridge Turnpike in the American Mile Historic District to install a sign. Lisa, are you the lead person? You're muted.
Okay, thank
There
you.
you are.
Hello, thank you, Dennis, and good evening, everyone. So we had a site visit this morning to return to a redesigned sign based on the feedback from our last meeting. Would you like me to show the slides at all?
I think we were all there.
Okay.
I was not there, so
Okay.
a brief showing of the
Yeah,
slides.
show
would
us what
be
you're
helpful.
proposing.
Okay,
What
great.
you've come down to proposing, yes.
Okay, let me share that. If hopefully everybody could see this. So the idea is that we would have a sign at the corner of where Cambridge Turnpike and Lexington Road, the corner of the museum, is currently not marked. So we would put a sign there using the museum's current branding. We're looking at a 72-inch sign, a 6-foot sign. I will say, based on the site visit, the placement of the sign, I think that we all looked at, there was a recommendation to move it forward. So let me show you a few options. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, sorry. Originally we had looked at basically putting the post in behind the stone wall and having it come right above the stone wall and having it pretty flush to the stone wall that exists. And upon further discussion, there was this, we thought perhaps to have it actually placed right in front of the wall, which would bring it into a lower profile. So currently, you could see sort of from this distance across the street, sort of the scale of the sign, it is lower. But when we, and I wish we had taken a picture, many of us were there. I don't know if anybody actually took a picture, but when you brought it forward in front of the stone wall and left a little bit of clearance for maintenance, for lawn mowing and so forth, it brought the sign down quite a bit. I think it was resting right above. It was slightly higher than the stone wall. Let me see. Sorry, I've got a lot of screens up. So there is it from kind of across the street. And you can see it from that view. And then from the Emerson House. So we would like to move forward with this sign as an opportunity as the 250th begins. This is a major intersection, an opportunity for us to better mark the museum as we welcome more visitors. I think that, you know, many people drive past the museum thinking, you know, it's another brick home in the historic district. So it'll be an opportunity to better sign it and welcome visitors to the museum. I think that, you know, we've worked on trying to create a smaller, lower profile sign than where we initially started. And hopefully people, when they saw it today, you know, saw the adjustments and would be supportive of the new placement and the height of the sign.
Great. Thank you, Lisa.
Should I stop sharing? So we can see.
Can we leave that image up?
Yeah, leave it there for now.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay,
That's okay.
Bring it right back.
I just want to make the comment, this for those who weren't there. Lisa, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I think we were talking about, and as you can see in that rendering, which is probably as realistic as anything, there's a little shade of stone wall behind the sign, right? And we were talking about, just as this is shown, having the sign on the outside of that stone wall, not on the lawn side.
Exactly.
And lowering the sign beyond what's shown here.
Yes.
Correct? So we'd lower
Yes.
it to maybe 8 inches above grade. The bottom is so that you could at least weed whack underneath it
Mhm.
and maintain it, 3 inches along, 5 inches of airspace. So the sign, I just want to point out to the commission that the sign came down almost a foot from what this is showing,
Yeah.
which I found visually all of a sudden the sign was not blocking the building, and I found it kind of a dramatic improvement. So I just want, Lisa, do you agree with those? I just want to make sure I'm representing this correctly.
Absolutely. So yeah, the idea was that we would actually put it right in front of the stone wall, drop the height quite a bit. And I think it was, leaving some clearance for
Above the
maintenance
grass.
underneath. Yeah,
Yeah.
for the grass. But essentially it really brought it like very much in line with the stone wall. And I think that, you don't get sort of that height that in any way I thought was blocking the view of the stone building at all. I will say, this is just anecdotal. We did have about 2 weeks ago, the last time we had the site visit, the sign that was up then was up for about 24 hours. And got a lot of wonderful comments from trustees, from neighbors, and so forth, that we had a new sign. It looked great. It's going to, really draw more attention to the museum. So it is just an anecdotal comment. But we did get a lot of good feedback having a sign there because, that whole part of the building is unmarked. And a major
I think
intersection.
the other comment you made was you would need to verify if it's over the property line into public right of way. You'd have to just make sure that that's okay by the town to put that in front of the wall and not behind it.
Yeah, Anne was there and we spoke a little bit, and I think we, need a little bit of guidance on, how to get clearance to make sure that we could put it right in front of the stone wall. But the stone right in front of that, we have that huge electrical box. There's a lot of things going on over there, so hopefully that would be approved. But we just need help navigating that.
And forgive me, I'm just going on here, but I just remembering the things the other thing we talked about was the color of the back of the sign, because it is quite prominent as you drive down Cambridge Concord, what is it?
Cambridge Turnpike.
Or Lexington.
Cambridge Turnpike. Thank you. As you're coming into town, I think we should talk. Do you have a recommended color? We talked about some colors. We talked about maybe a gray, maybe it's the orange of the reddish orange of the sign. What is the recommendation from your end?
We could certainly, keep it red. We could do gray. Billy Crosby, I believe, is still on this call. He'd probably be manufacturing the sign. So it's also a little bit of a question of what he can, sort of material or substrate he could put on the backside of the sign. But we would not leave it white. I think either making it red or potentially kind of a gray tone would work.
Okay.
So I'm sorry, just to clarify, the red of the front of the sign with the white lettering are the final branded colors that have been chosen.
Yes. We rebranded the museum a little over a year ago. So it would be completely consistent with all, other signage, the website, all of our materials. Other
questions? I would opt for the gray on the back to match the stone wall, mainly because I've been there's a group that's been involved in native plantings there, and I'm not sure the orange would go well with the native plantings.
Yeah, we want to be very respectful. We put a whole new native plant garden in this past spring. So actually, if we could do it outside the wall, that would probably be even better received.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Do we have other questions? My only other comment is, and this is just to your advantage, and I know that you're trying to hold to a logo type here, but I think the Concord Museum is awfully tiny on that sign when we looked at it today. So I just would urge you to think about making those letters larger if you could, so that people will know what's there. I think it's hard to read from a distance. My own opinion.
Yeah, I mean, from a distance, I mean, the sign has shrunk over time. I do appreciate that the font size has come down a little bit. So, as you're closer, you can see it, but from further back, it's, you can sort of see the CM. There's something there, but, it's not quite as legible. Yeah, I think that, we could perhaps, play a little bit with the margins, but I appreciate the fact that it's not super legible from a distance.
Other comments on the sign?
Yeah, doesn't that go against what you're saying about the necessity of maintaining the proportions in all of your logo? You would need a larger sign if you did that, wouldn't you? Or is the logo flexible just a little bit?
I mean, no, the logo is really not flexible,
So
Walter. We've discussed.
therefore, you would be asking for a larger sign, right?
Yeah, I mean, no, I was saying margins is like.
So forget my comment. Just leave it like it is. You like it that way? It's fine.
I have two comments. One is I still think it's too much sign. I think it's twice as large as it should be in the space, and I've been there and looked at it twice on site visits. I think if your branding is successful, the shot of red there and the CM ought to, in concert with the two other signs you have there, be sufficient for people to understand that that's where the museum is. I think that having the sign as far removed physically from what, frankly, as you've been saying, is a rather nondescript building. There's nothing about the building behind the sign that even tells you that that is a museum, especially. I think that the placement of the sign that far away is divorced from the role that you think that it has in branding that building right there as being a museum. It lets people know to expect something, perhaps, and that's what you're trying to accomplish, but it's physically quite removed. And the other thing, I'll remind my fellow commissioners that this is still requires a variance from the city.
Yeah.
In terms of sign bylaws.
Yeah.
So I respectfully disagree with the idea that it should be even larger or present even larger. I think that it's unlike anything else in the district. I think it's really unlike anything else in the town. And I still consider it to be, given its size, twice as large functionally as I would like to see it. And I consider it to be visually, certainly wakes me up when I see it, but it's a fine line between that and being visually jarring, given the fact that there's no reference whatsoever anywhere else in the district to it.
I mean, Walter, yeah, I appreciate,
And
all
I
good feedback.
said there's a special relationship between the museum and the town, but it's
No, I appreciate your feedback. I think that, obviously, perhaps the red is, the warm red is a bold choice, but it does go nicely with the brick. And that was a decision that HDC approved a little over a year ago. And so the other thing I will say, though, in terms of the distance, I mean, I guess we as the museum really do think about all of that land between the street and our first 1930 building as part of the campus. I mean, it was originally Emerson's Fruit Orchard. We have just put in a native plant garden there. We're hoping to do some seeding in there. We do periodically do events in there. So we hold the April 19th encampment in there. So I guess, I do really see all of it as part of, the museum and an extension of the campus. So I guess I don't see it as quite far removed as you do. But I think that, we're here for, the collection is here to serve the public good and be accessible. And I think that, the idea of, marking the museum well as a destination, as a place to visit is, something as, the museum would like to do and establish, a presence. And, yeah, so I think that I might, I agree with some of your points, but not all. So,
All well understood, and I agree with some of yours.
Are there other comments?
Yes, I would like to make a comment. The last time around, I was not in agreement with the sign. I did think it was too large, and I also thought it blocked out, again, depending on where you were standing, the whole front door of the brick building. And I think the change that has been made now is ideal. I really do. It's perfect up against the stone wall. We absolutely approved the colors and the branding, which is very sophisticated. And the whole point is to make it a little more updated as a museum, to bring more people in. I think this is the way to go now. I don't think they're going to make it any better. I just was very, very pleased to see. And it was honestly Dennis's idea to put it in front. And I thought that was genius, Dennis, because it really made a huge difference. And it was, in a way, so simple, but so effective. And so I'm definitely in favor of this.
Yeah, I agree. As soon as it came in front of the wall and went lower, it didn't affect the building. It didn't interfere with the building at all. And it really signaled that there's something there besides a house, but I don't think it competed or jarred at all.
Other thoughts?
Would you like me to make a motion?
Did we ask for public comments?
no,
Did I ask for
sorry.
public comments? Is there anybody out there who wants to talk about the sign? Any neighbors, anybody in town that wants to comment on it? I don't see any, it's only us. Okay, so I guess we would like a motion.
I move that we approve the application for the Concord Museum as submitted, confirming that the sign will be approximately 8 inches above grade and that the back will be gray.
Does that work for everybody?
Did you want to mention the location too?
In front of the stone wall?
In front of the stone, well, isn't that as submitted?
No, it isn't.
well, as submitted was it arched over,
It's on the back.
so,
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry. All right. Yes, thanks, Ann. Okay, again, I move that we approve the application of the Concord Museum for new signage in front of the stone wall, approximately 8 inches above grade and with a gray back.
Great.
Do you want to add how much smaller it is from the version we saw before? Because they were telling us it was.
It says submitted, right?
Is it?
Is
what
that
was
it submitted?
was, the latest version is the right size, is what you
Okay.
saw this morning.
Okay, good. Okay, so someone seconded. Catherine, you seconded.
Thank you.
Okay, let's do some voting here. Kate, you're back in voting.
I am, thank you. Yes, aye.
Catherine,
Aye.
Melinda,
Aye.
Kim,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Do you have your sign?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Now go deal with the town.
I will deal with the town, and actually we did get funding from, like Mimi did, we did get funding from Mott to help with this effort. So
Oh, good.
as part of the 250th, so they will pay half, which is wonderful. So,
Good.
thank you.
Okay, so
Thank
that's
you.
all of the hearings for tonight. Did I hope I didn't miss any more? No, I didn't. And the minutes need more work, I'm told, so we will have no minutes tonight. I do want to mention, and I know this is late and it's 2 nights in a row, but it would be great if some of you could show up at the preservation planning meeting tomorrow, which is at 7 o'clock at the townhouse. Anne, do you want to add anything to that?
Right, so Heritage Strategies is going to be coming up from Maryland. She's in town now, and so she'll be facilitating the public forum where draft goals are available. And hopefully we have a good turnout and hope you all can make it.
Yeah, it'd be great. You need 2 nights in a row working on historic preservation in Concord.
I would go, but I have a long-standing dinner date with somebody annoying.
Well, that sounds exciting. Okay, any other business?
Well, I have a question. Will
Okay,
this be,
Melinda?
I can't make tomorrow either, unfortunately, and I would have liked to have come, so I'm wondering if you're gonna tape this?
Yes, it will be taped.
And where will we find that?
Right, probably under the Historical Commission, YouTube channel.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And this is Zoomed tomorrow too?
It will be Zoomed, yes.
So it is Zoomed, okay.
Yes.
Great. Anything else before we sign off?
Hey, Dennis,
Jim?
just quickly, there's been discussion off and on, and I just don't know where it stands about somehow updating our design guidelines piece by piece in some fashion. I'm just wondering, and I have a certain, I guess, a bit of energy and interest in trying to take that on. But maybe something's been done that I'm not aware of, but I'm wondering where that stands.
Dennis, I can give an update.
Oh, Bill, I was going to say, is Bill still here?
Okay.
Bill's doing phase 1 of the update.
What I've been doing, and I would welcome help, is at every discussion, I'm making red line comments on the guidelines. In some cases, it's a direct edit to improve clarity. In other cases, it's highlighting a matter that needs committee discussion to settle, but is clearly a source of confusion. So, Tim, if you have an interest in helping me, it'd be great to have somebody work on that. Maybe you and I can get together offline and figure out also just a process for periodically getting discussion and approval from the commission.
Great.
That sounds good.
Okay, I will find you.
Great.
Kristen?
Thanks.
You're muted.
You're muted.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
I wanted to say also I had some interest in that as well. I've been looking at some of the guidelines in other towns around the area and how they do it. And I think there's improvement to how we're conveying information to homeowners.
Could you shoot me your email? I don't think I have Tim's email, but I don't think I have yours.
I don't know that I have yours.
Okay, maybe give it to Anne.
Yeah, you can do it. You can do it
That'd be great.
through Anne.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we agreed at one point on moving ahead with changes to the guidelines rather than going through and doing a whole big sweep. We were going to keep track of areas that needed some help as it came to them. I think stone walls might have been one we talked about. So, so following signage, we'll continue this trend.
Yeah, windows, stone walls. One thing I thought was really interesting in Belmont is that they categorized the guidelines by building type. So a Victorian house had different guidelines, different paint recommendations than a colonial house does. And
right, it should be the same here.
Good.
But that's a project.
Yeah, we'll bite it off one at a time.
Great.
All right.
Okay, so anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll move we adjourn.
Second. Oh, wait, can I just say, Dennis?
Yes.
I think this is the first time we've been 10 commissioners in 5 years.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't even notice that. We're all no wonder it took so damn long.
Are we should we go down?
I am provisional, so you still have 9.
Still 10 members here, so there.
So you're saying we should go to the Colonial Inn for drinks right now?
That's right. Right, Tim.
If you want to come to 410 Lexington Road for drinks, that'll be fine. But no one's gonna move me from here.
I guess
You're all
we're
invited
at some point.
Anyway.
Good. Thank you very much. Everybody agrees. Aye. Everybody's an aye that we.
Good night.
Great. We'll see you in 3 weeks, if not before. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.